All right, YouTube, welcome to the live stream here on a windy Monday night. I say windy and I can almost hear it outside right now. I can hear it through the walls. It's howling out there. Let's talk about the hockey game tonight. Interesting in a sense that I could do this all over again. I could give you enough tidbits to make you believe the Sharks won tonight's game. For example, they scored in all three periods. Logan Couture had 2 goals. Brent Burns had 3 points. Devan Dubnyk made his San Jose debut in a starting capacity. He looked pretty darn good. If I told you all those things, Sharks had 2 power play goals. They had a 2-0 lead after 20 minutes. You'd be led to believe that somehow, some way, they'd ultimately win the game. But they didn't. And a big part of it was the second period. In a couple minutes, maybe I can get into the trends that I've been noticing there, and not just one particular thing that's caused them to be outscored 7-1 so far in the 3 second periods that they've played, but there's just something pivotal there about these games, whether they lose it on the scoreboard or even once in Arizona, they just kind of lost their edge in that second period. They're not able to sustain what they've been starting. And I should have mentioned this too. They scored first again. 3 straight games they scored first, and relatively early. It was 11:38 into the first period when Brent Burns took that point shot from the right side. Kevin Labanc tipped it, 1-0 San Jose. They add another one a couple minutes later on the power play. Logan on the one-timer. Again, it's enough offense and enough good things to lead you to believe that they could win these games. They're just, in the 2 losses, and really, even in their shootout win to open up the season, they had a 2-goal lead with 3.5 minutes left to play, and things went south. It had to go to overtime and eventually the shootout. I'm getting distracted here, and I apologize for that because I've just set a 10-minute timer here. It's a fault of mine to ramble. I could go on for 20 minutes here on a live stream. I just don't know if that's beneficial to anybody. I want to keep this tight. I want to keep this concise. I'll have a couple minutes at the end. I'm hoping to maybe take some questions, provide the best answers I can. Again, when I do this, I hope people realize this is not the hockey mind right here. I'm not pretending to be the former player, the coach. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to help you put together the pieces and aggregate from all the different sources and try and get better perspectives on this team. One that on paper, has a lot of potential. Looks like they have a lot of reasons that they could be a playoff team this year. A couple really good teams, right? The Avs, the Golden Knights, and these St. Louis Blues. A lot of people think those will be the top 3 in the Western Division, and they might be. But who's that 4th team? And when you compare the Sharks to who else is out there, there's no reason why they couldn't be that 4th team. I do have to say, seeing St. Louis now after seeing Arizona for 2 games, the Blues look decidedly better. I don't mean that as a knock to Arizona, but they look like they're a little sharper. And I say sharper, but this is the same Blues team that had just lost a game on Friday night to the Avs, 8-0. And they were scoreless through halfway in the game. Second half of the second period, they got outscored 4-0. They took another 4 goals in the third period. So they were hungry. They turned their game on in this second period. Again, when the Sharks were up 2-0, that means St. Louis in 4 periods of hockey, really in 3 periods of hockey, was 10-0 against. They had allowed 10 goals in a row without scoring one. But obviously Justin Falk was 1 away from the hat trick tonight. And just looking at second periods for the Sharks, is it a conditioning thing? I'm not trying to sit here and come up with every excuse possible. I'm trying to reason through things that would make sense. Again, 2 weeks of training camp, no exhibition games. Is it the long change? Is there some strategy to this? And you did see that St. Louis was able to create offensively a lot of times in transition. So I wonder if there's something to that. And really, there was also this. I mean, the Sharks actually didn't, I said they led 2-0. They didn't actually dictate the pace of this game, even in the first period. Shots at one point, and I want to say this was maybe midway first period before they had, started scoring. Shots were 7-1, St. Louis. Like the ice was totally slanted, and then the Sharks really got their game going. and then it just went away in the second period. Let's talk about some positives here before I circle back to maybe bigger picture stuff. Logan Couture, 2 goals tonight. One of them was on the power play. I didn't even know this. He played 52 games last year. The team had 70. He had, obviously, the injury that knocked him out at the end. But Logan didn't have a power play goal last year. That's amazing. I don't know why I didn't realize that or notice it. Or maybe, I don't want to say call more attention to it, but that's crazy. It just doesn't seem right. So he gets one tonight, and that was awesome. There's also something about playing in St. Louis for Logan. He's played 13 career games there, including playoffs, and has 18 goals now in that building, Enterprise Center. So something about that. And also, another stat that was passed on to me, a multi-goal game for him. He's tied for the 3rd most multi-goal games in Sharks franchise history with, I'll let you think about it for a second, with Owen Nolan, but who are the 2 guys that are ahead of him in multi-goal games? Well, one should be obvious, right? Mr. Shark. When you do it for decades, you just get more opportunities. Patty's number 1. Number 2, Joe Pavelski. And now Logan Couture, he's done it 35 times. So that was definitely a positive. I thought Devan Dubnyk played a pretty solid game. You know, on our post-game show, Curtis and I were talking during the commercial break, and we were trying to come up with the definition of Dubnyk's debut in a starting capacity, and there weren't soft goals. There really weren't. Tonight was a case of a couple tips, couple redirects, couple unmarked men right out front with opportunities. I really don't. I don't look back and say, Dubnyk really would like that one back. I'm sure he would like the opportunities back, but I don't look at any of the goals that were scored by St. Louis as being soft. And so it doesn't fit a 5-goal scoreboard that the Blues posted tonight. It doesn't. His stats and what's on the scoreboard do not reflect to me how Devan Dubnyk looked. I thought there was a lot of encouragement there. And I think the real thing I want to focus on here at the very end of all this is team defense. That's kind of where I'm leading to, and a couple positives before what really needs to be addressed. But that is definitely one of the things that needs to be discussed. Team defense versus how a goaltender plays in that relationship. And unfortunately, that is not a new theme for this team. They can keep up offensively, and I think they've shown that in respective years. And really, goal scoring, again, tonight you score in all 3 periods. You get 1 on the power play. You get 2 on the power play. It's going to come. It's the other half of it. It's playing defense. It's the less sexy part, the less noticeable part, where you want to hold on to these 2-goal advantages. You want to take a 2-0 lead in the first period, right? Which was hard to get. Just milk them through the second period, even if it's scoreless. You're in a great position with 40 minutes left, with 40 in the books, and 20 left to close out the game. I guess I'm going back to the middle period thing here. Yeah, just to get outscored this year, 7-1 in middle periods, that's a difference. That is a huge difference for me in the middle part of that game, and then having to recover. And realistically, I like the fight in the Sharks actually tonight, because all of a sudden they had a 2-goal lead, they lost it, they scored the next one. The Blues score a couple more. The Sharks end up tying it at 4. It was not like they just rolled over and quit. There was some fight in the Sharks, and I do have to say here, I'm looking at 3 minutes left on my timer that I set for 10 minutes on this live stream, and I will spend the last couple minutes here to see if there's any questions or comments that are worth touching on here. Wow. All right. So there's a couple. We'll get to those. But what I think though you're about to see is a team that went through a lot of adversity last year and had certain defining issues to work on. So the question now is, under adversity again here, adversity. They've lost 2 games, they've won 1. We're barely into this 56-game season, but the point is, a game like tonight where you had some things in hand and you weren't able to hang on, I want to see the response. And that's what I want to give these guys the opportunity to do. Show a response with a statement win next time out. And that's kind of the cool thing about these series. So you get to see and play the same opponent in back-to-back games. So, yeah, interesting again for the Sharks. I can point out enough positives, but I can clearly show you some of the negatives. And, you know, I also want to point this out. Last thing I'll say here before I go to the comments. Everything that's going on right now in professional sports, broadcasts included, by the way, are really hard to judge properly. You don't get any exhibition games. You get 2 weeks of camp. You got a team like the Sharks who haven't played together in 10 months. It's going to be rough and a little bit rusty out of the gate. So execution, timing, sloppiness, speed, all those things. And it is not fair. I'm going to say this as somebody who talks about games as soon as they're over on television. You have to put all of that into perspective. And I know they're professional athletes. They get paid to do this, and they're competing amongst the best, and they are the best. I'm just saying that what you're seeing right now is as abnormal as ever before. Not an excuse. Reality. Now, don't get it twisted. Some teams are going to do well. Some players are going to do well under these circumstances. But I think you're going to see a little bit of a settling in period in the near future. And maybe the Sharks settle in a really good spot, a better spot than this. Maybe not. But they will settle into something at some point soon. That's probably the best way to put it. Okay, I've done this no justice because there's only a minute left here. But I want to go through some of the comments here. Tom, the guy, saying, Dubnyk with the start on Wednesday. That's a great question because Bob Boughner went with Martin Jones back-to-back because he liked the way Jones played, and the Coyotes got 3 on him, including 2 late ones in the opener, but he said, I like the way he played. I want to reward him. I want to give him that opportunity. I don't know about Wednesday, if that's a Dubnyk start or a Jones start. I would not be surprised if it was Devan Dubnyk in the interest of, a fair split. But I really do feel like they're trying to edge Martin Jones into probably taking a little bit more of the share initially. So I'm not going to jump any assumptions here, jump out with any assumptions, but I could see it going either way. I do not think at all Dubnyk ruled himself out of another start. Let's take a look here. I saw somebody else make a comment saying it looks like the A's. I said the A's. Sorry, I saw somebody commenting about the A's. It looks like the Sharks could either be 3-0 or 0-3 right now. I saw that comment here somewhere, and now it's either gone. Oh yeah, Chester. There you go. Sharks could easily be 3-0 or 0-3 right now. It kind of is that way. Oh, there's my 10-minute mark. But I agree with that because there have been enough things in these 3 games that lead you to believe that they've done enough to win them. But in a lot of ways, they've done some things to cost themselves and lose the game. So is it a matter of, I'm not saying it's finding ways to lose, but they are not finding all the ways to win right now. At this point, that's probably the fairest thing to say. They're doing a lot of things right. They're doing enough things right, but they're not ultimately finding that way to win. I believe the name is at Giant here. I'm not sure about Dubnyk. I mean, there were some chances tonight that he made stops. The real question is, and I think we all have a different number, how many great stops can you ask your goalie to make on a nightly basis? Does he have to make, and I'm talking about like grade A chances, ones that have you saying, wow, nice one. Is that number 5? Is that number 7? Or is it 12? I don't know the answer. But he made enough for me tonight to think it was a good enough game. And again, I look at the shared responsibility and the chances St. Louis was getting, the grade A scoring chances. There's a lot of different ways, and a lot of different people will break down this metric of high danger chances or ones in the home plate area, scoring area. And there's a lot of different ways to look at this statistically, but just the eye test. Like, look at the types of chances your opposition is getting. You got to cut that down a little bit. You're only making the goalies look bad when they can't stop everything, or they try and stop a shot that was between your skater's legs. And that's not to fault anybody. It just happens that way. It's the high danger chances. It's the second chance right out front that the opposition is getting. So things like that. Let's see if there's any more good questions here. Felix asking not to single out one individual, but are you concerned about EK65's play early on defensively? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he ended up with or he ended up at, but I know through 40, when I looked at second intermission, I know he was a -3. And I think at that point he'd skated about 17 minutes. So I don't know where he finished in time or plus minus. I would assume that it was it still -3? I'm looking over here like somebody's going to answer me. No, nobody's over here to answer me right now. It's just that screen right there. It's so crazy. But yeah, you know what? To answer the question, yeah, I mean, yeah, a little bit. I don't, you know, and I'm waiting for everybody to kind of have their game into the season. Like for Brent Burns tonight, you know, a goal and 2 assists. Like he was in it. Like this was the game where Brent Burns was. I felt like, you know, this was not his first game of the season. That's not fair to say, but this is the one where the season started for Brent Burns. And we're still waiting for that for Karlsson. And I think that there's twofold here. You know, you're looking for him to contribute offensively. You're looking for him to move the puck up the ice. You're looking for him to be that offensive defenseman that we certainly know he's capable of. On the flip side, though, I think what can't slump is the defense, right? And that's something we talk about a lot in baseball too. Like you're as a hitter, you're offensively going to go in a rut. You're going to go in a slump. You're going to go 0 for 20, whatever. Like it's going to happen if you're an everyday player. But defense you can't let it, and it shouldn't slump. I've gone way over my 10 minutes. And the same thing in hockey, right? Like it's one thing if you're not getting the touches, if the puck's not finding you, if you're not able to, score on a regular basis, but how can you make solid decisions and play solid defensive hockey so that at least that part is taken care of? And I honestly think for Karlsson right now, maybe both sides of it just aren't working like we know they can. There's Puck Guy. See, I was looking. I knew somebody would have my back over here. I knew it, Eric. You would have my back on that one. So EK65 was a -3, 25 minutes, and 2 shots on goal. Look, I'll close it out here. I've blown past my time already. I just want to say this. It's early to start making assumptions, but we have enough in 9 periods to at least get some ideas and see some trends. Like I don't want this to say the team is defined for the entire season, right? But I think there's a little bit of concern in a sense that some things are being repeated. Now, can the team get away from that? Would be great. How is it going to be inside the room? This is not a first point of adversity. Again, you win the next one in St. Louis, and you're doing pretty much what most NHL teams try and do: play 500 on the road. Through their first 8-game road trip, none of this is easy. Again, that's another thing we rarely ever talk about. These guys haven't been home since December 30th, right? Haven't slept in their own bed. Not making excuses, just telling it like it is. And they're still going to be on the road for 5 more games, and maybe more. Who knows? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I just want to see in their next game how they respond, and even further than that, how they respond. The St. Louis Blues are good. This is a good test for them. This is kind of a good ramp up after seeing the Coyotes twice to now play a team that is expected to be a playoff team. So let's see how they do on Wednesday. I think every game here we go farther, we're gonna get a better realization. And out of 56 games, can we say some things for sure after 15 games? Probably. 20 games, yeah. But 3 games, especially the first 3, maybe not. So, all right, that's going to do it for this evening's live stream. I appreciate you for being here. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already. I'm be honest, like I'm not all about like stats and followers and whatever, but YouTube is something I neglected for years. And in 2021, I'm trying to double the subscriber count. It's like 5,000 to 10,000. Can I do it? Can you help? Maybe like the video, comment if this is a replay, and I really do appreciate it. Should I leave you with some parting music? Oh. All right. I think I'm going to leave on this. So everybody have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. I will talk to you next time. Bye.